Samantha Davis grew up in a world of manicured lawns, country clubs, and luxury cars. The only daughter of Richard and Olivia Davis, she lived a life of privilege and wealth. Her parents had built their fortune through shrewd investments and old money connections. The Davis estate was a sprawling mansion filled with art and fine china. Richard had retired early, and Olivia filled her days with charity events, shopping trips, and gossiping over tea with other socialites. Samantha was the perfect daughter, attending the best schools and keeping company with the right people. She dated the kind of men her parents approved of: polished, wealthy, and connected. But despite her picture-perfect life, Samantha often felt like she was living in a gilded cage, her every move watched and controlled. Deep down, she yearned for a life that was real, raw, and untethered from the expectations that came with the Davis name. Then she met Marcus, and everything changed. Marcus was unlike anyone Samantha had ever known. He was a kind, hard-working man who worked as a carpenter by day and played jazz at a local bar by night. Marcus's life was simple. He lived in a modest apartment and rode an old bike, but he had a warmth about him, a genuine kindness that drew Samantha in. He made her feel seen, understood, and appreciated, something she had never truly felt in her world of wealth. Samantha fell deeply in love with Marcus. He introduced her to a world that was vibrant and full of live community cookouts, soulful music, and warm gatherings that made Samantha feel at home in a way she never had before. It was a stark contrast to the cold, rigid life she had always known. But when Samantha introduced Marcus to her parents, the Davises were appalled. They saw Marcus as nothing more than an ordinary man with the wrong skin color. "How could you bring him here?" Olivia hissed, her voice dripping with disdain. Richard stood silently beside her, his disapproval clear. Samantha's parents couldn't see past their prejudice and class snobbery. To them, Marcus was beneath their daughter. They couldn't fathom why Samantha would choose a man so far outside their world, a man who, in their eyes, would only drag her down. They demanded Samantha leave him, insisting she find someone more suitable, more worthy. But Samantha stood her ground, choosing love over loyalty to her family's outdated ideals. With her heart breaking, she packed her bags and left the mansion she once called home. She moved in with Marcus, trading the life of luxury for one of love, warmth, and authenticity. They struggled at first, adjusting to a simpler lifestyle, but they were happy. Samantha found work as a teacher, and Marcus's carpentry business slowly began to thrive. Years went by, and Samantha and Marcus built a beautiful life together, one filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. They faced challenges, but they faced them together, and that made all the difference. They had no contact with Samantha's parents, who remained stubbornly silent, refusing to acknowledge their daughter's choices. That is, until one fateful afternoon when Samantha's phone rang, displaying a number she hadn't seen in years. Samantha hesitated before answering. It was her mother, Olivia, her voice quivering with uncharacteristic vulnerability. "Samantha, your father, he's very sick," Olivia said, her tone softer than Samantha had ever heard. "I need help. I can't do this alone." Samantha's heart sank. She hadn't seen her parents in years, but the thought of her father being ill was enough to stir emotions she thought she had buried long ago. Samantha knew what she had to do. She and Marcus packed their bags and returned to the Davis estate. Olivia was taken aback when she saw her daughter arrive with Marcus. Her eyes flickered with hesitation, but there was no time for grudges. Richard needed help, and Samantha was determined to be there for her father. Marcus, too, offered his assistance without hesitation, despite the history between them. At first, Olivia kept her distance, still wary of the man she had once dismissed, but Marcus quickly proved himself indispensable. He fixed broken furniture, repaired leaky faucets, and spent time with Richard, reading to him and keeping him company when Samantha needed rest. Despite his initial animosity, Richard found himself warming to Marcus, who treated him with kindness and respect, never expecting anything in return. As days turned into weeks, Olivia couldn't help but notice the quiet, steadfast way Marcus supported her daughter. He was patient, caring, and attentive, qualities that shone through in every small act of service. Marcus's dedication to Samantha and her family began to break down the walls of prejudice that had kept them apart for so long. Richard, once stern and unyielding, began to see Marcus not as a threat, but as a good man who genuinely loved his daughter. One evening, after helping Richard into bed, Marcus sat by the old man's side. Richard looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and regret. "Thank you, Marcus," he said, his voice frail but sincere. "Thank you for taking care of Samantha and us." It was a simple acknowledgement, but it meant the world to Samantha, who watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Her parents were finally seeing Marcus for who he truly was. It took time, but the Davises slowly opened their hearts to Marcus. They saw how deeply he loved Samantha and how much he cared for them, despite everything. Olivia and Richard realized that love was not about class, race, or wealth. It was about the simple, powerful bond between two people who chose each other every day. Samantha and Marcus had shown them a different kind of love, one that transcended all barriers. The Davis family began to heal, united by the love that Samantha and Marcus had fought so hard to protect. In the end, it wasn't wealth or status that mattered, but the power of love, forgiveness, and the courage to stand by what is true. The Davises were no longer just a family defined by riches. They were a family defined by the resilience of the human heart and the belief that love could indeed conquer all.